In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Hello and greetings. This is Muhammad Sulaiman Ahmadzai, here with a new session for you, my friends. So, let's recall what we did together in the previous lesson. In the last lesson, we learned together what was the definition of the Notepad program, how could we open Notepad, and what was the program's interface like. Then we said that in the next video, we would start again from the basics together and continue with the lessons. Alright, so together we wrote some text. For example, yesterday, we worked on writing a few sentences together. For instance, here, for example, we wrote their definitions. Now, for example, when do we need to do something together? Should we save them, store them, or maybe print them out? For settings and adjustments, you need to use this file menu together. Let's go to the file menu. The first thing we do is save it. That's it. The system says that the file is not saved. Here, when it says untitled, it means our file hasn't been given a title yet, hasn't been saved, and doesn't have any name. So, what do we do with this file? We save it. We already talked about the built-in shortcut, right? It's Ctrl+S. And what's the non-built-in shortcut? Alt+F+S. Both of these work. When we go to save, it asks us, where do you want to save this? Let's say, for example, we choose desktop. We tell it, save this for us as grammar, for example, or grammar1, G1, grammar1, save it for us with this name. When you and I say save, we say that same G1, and here it takes N1. That same page title we mentioned. We remind ourselves that, for example, this file was copied again and saved somewhere else for me. It's not a mistake if, say, someone comes to your computer and deletes a file you spent a lot of time on after you saved it today. If it gets deleted by mistake, you can just make another copy. Put it in a directory, in my computer, somewhere so that all our hard work isn't lost if someone deletes it. Again, just saving won't work. We have to use save as for this. The job of saving again is like playing a game for the second time. Sometimes we realize, oh, I made a mistake here. For example, it's not even the right pronoun. Maybe it's a personal pronoun, or a subject pronoun, or a possessive pronoun. It's a different pronoun altogether. We want to bring in changes, or maybe something has been added, for example, or maybe this word has been added, or maybe this word isn't even there. For instance, there's a word with a completely different meaning. For example, we wrote this as Ahmad wrote it. We want to add or replace it in the file instead of the previous word. Again, this is all CSV together and we don't mention it. What do we call this? We call it save. We say the previous information was wrong, replace this with that. These were just replaced in the same previous file with a word, meaning the new information was updated. So, this is called updating. But if we say we don't want the previous file, save a copy of this file for us. Again, we call this save as. What's the shortcut for it? Ctrl+Shift+S, or Alt+F, then A. We press it. It asks, and I say desktop. Look, if you choose the same name at this point, it won't let you save the file with that name. For example, if we tell it we want to save the file again as G1, it gives a warning. It says, already exists. It tells you that a file with this name already exists. So if we want to use the exact same name, what do we have to do with the location? Change it. Modify it. Go to Drive C, Drive D, another location, My Documents. If you pick a different address, it will save with the same name. But if I say we want to save it in the same address, what do we have to do with the file name? Change it. Otherwise, it won't accept the same name. For example, if I tell it to save the file as G2, but if we wanted to save it with the same name, what could we do? Change the address. In that example, we say, okay, save a copy of it on the desktop. On the desktop, G1 and G2 are actually the same file, and we just had to change their names. But if we tell it, no, save this file for us as G1, okay. If this address isn't empty, for example, we come and tell it. We say, let it be in the Documents folder. For example, this time, neither of them has a problem, because it didn't exist in Documents before. Try to have just one G1 here. When we go, for example, into Documents, we also have one named G1 here. So in this situation, if it doesn't exist, it won't show any error again. But in this situation, if you want to save it, what should you do with its name? Change it. After your file has been saved. For example, you say, well, now I have a new page to work on. I finished the grammar, and now I want to save it. This work is now finished. Now I want to save and write my next grammar. Now we have a new page to work on. With this new page, for example, are you working on the same new page or are you just leaving it? I mean, let's say you don't care about this at all and you have a completely separate new page to work on. If you have a completely separate new page to work on, you type this and its place remain. Again, we tell it new window. The shortcut is Ctrl+Shift+N. Or, for example, we can just press Alt+FW for it. It will open a new page for you and me, without having anything to do with the previous text. Now we can save our next grammar. But if we tell it, no, instead of this current page, we want a new page and want the previous grammar to be closed. I don't need this one anymore. Again, we say new or press Ctrl plus N or Alt plus Fn. The page will become new. The previous one will be replaced. But the content doesn't get deleted because the file was already saved before. Instead, a new page opens for you. If we want to open the previous file, well, we go to the File menu and select Open. Let's say we have a file in Documents, for example, G1, or we have a copy of it on the desktop called G1 or G2. We tell it to open this for us. We click OK. The file opens. The shortcut is Ctrl plus O or Alt plus F plus O. Or, for example, on the desktop, if this is our file, we can just double-click directly on the file. It opens directly. After that, we have something else called Page tab and Print. For example, if you want to print this text, to print it directly from here, before we print it, we first need to go to the Page tab and set up the page. Let's set up the page. Whether the page should be printed vertically or horizontally. What the margin should be. We do these kinds of settings in the Page tab section. But some of the commands, as you can see, don't have a built-in shortcut. Meaning, they don't have a shortcut key, so we have to use other shortcuts. For example, its shortcut is Alt plus F plus U, so we click on it. In the size section, first we specify that our paper size should be A3, or it could be A4, or B4, or letter. These are the standard A4 sheets. The sheets you are currently using for printing are called A4. Second, here you choose the orientation, whether it should be landscape or portrait. Portrait means vertical. Landscape means horizontal. This is in terms of the paper. If it refers to something else, vertical and horizontal have their own meanings. In this case, again, we consider it vertical. If it's like this, we call it horizontal. But when it comes to paper, we still use horizontal and vertical. We use portrait and landscape. The margins are set based on inches, but sometimes you can set them in centimeters too. If you go to WordPad, you can change it. But for now, it's set to inches. It tells you how much the margins should be on all four sides. If I set this to 0, and set the left and right sides to 0 as well, now you can see these texts. On both sides, the margins are completely 0. There's absolutely no spacing at all. If, for example, your printer isn't compatible, it might cut off some of the letters from every side. That's why it's better to have some margin. So, how much should you have? Half an inch each. Or maybe 0 point something, or even 1 inch. We still haven't set it from one side. Now, as you can see, it's set to 1 inch margin on all four sides. Header, footer, and subtitles. Like, say, you have 5 or 10 pages of text, and on each page you want a title at the top that repeats on every page. For example, at the top you can put My File, and you can change it as you like. Sometimes you just say OK and move on. For printing, the shortcut is Ctrl plus P, or sometimes Alt plus F plus P, or just Ctrl plus P for quick print. This works. The first thing we do is select your printer. Any printer that is installed will show up here as your printer. You select the printer. After that, we print. So, we select this. How many copies should be printed? Alright, we tell it to print this. Of course, since we don't have a printer, but it will be saved. But as I said, the feature is that it shows us some of the negative points of this file, what happens. I don't like this, so we close it. I tried to show it to the Romans, so it's called CC because we had registered it like this, and this is how it gets printed. You see, one of the problems is that the header in this section gets wasted. My mod file with Ahmadzai, if the name is wrong, it has come as Ahmadzai. Anyway, this subtitle, its header, from the 23rd text, when it happens, these repeat themselves again. We don't write these again. For example, here, after this, we can say that this was the same G1 file. For example, if I copy-paste this a bit, it will increase a little. It says until it becomes 3 pages. Now let's go print this. Print. We replace at 33. Now it's going to print. Try to make it maybe 3 or 4 pages. Let's see how many pages it is. It's 5 pages. It's 5 pages. On 5 pages, you see its title is My File. The title appears at the top, and below it comes down. It repeats both the header and the footer over and over. That's because you set the header and footer. Now you write the drawer. It will be repeated on all your pages. Let's try, as we said to you. The problem with the file we printed with you was that, as we said, if when we print, the printer shows us a file problem, it means there's an issue somewhere and we need to fix something. You already know about this issue, we've mentioned it several times and we're repeating it again. Try to notice that one of the problems with this file is that you see this line has been copied and repeated because the line got too long. So it wrapped itself and brought it down to the next line. That's what this means. This part came from over there. If I went here, I wouldn't see its continuation. After printing, I would realize that I had torn a page. On the second page, I would come and paste it. On the second page, I wouldn't know how much to indent. So that we can see the file name completely, and whenever it's perfect, we can print it again. Otherwise, the paper would be wasted. Then we come back a second time. What do? We rewrite it. So what was the problem with this? This is a bit too long. It shouldn't be so long that it goes off the page, and I'm saying, let me do this so it's more presentable. And another mistake here is that the text should have a little bit of spacing. I either save it myself or print it out. If it looks perfect, then later you can connect it to the printer. Let the game stay. We print it. Now let's check it. It works. These two are pretty good, but it still has some problems. You see, it's stretched out this much. For example, it shouldn't go off one sheet. I save it again and print it. Alright, so now after 3, 4, 5 tries, we move the file. 9 times, when we want it to print, it printed. We all work with one sheet, about 5 similar sheets wasted. Each print, we tried. How? Bad. How did it turn out? It came out bad. Look, there's no problem at all. There's no problem. After that, whenever we connect the printer, we print from here again. So, preview is important because if we print without checking before printing, we might run into some issues along the way. What do we have after that? After the File menu, we have something called Exit, which closes the program. You can exit from here. You can also close from here. Right-click here, close. You can also close from here. Here, you can right-click and close, and here we read about pin to taskbar, so you can pin it. In fact, Notepad will always show up here. So, this is also one of the ways to open it. Among the methods we learned earlier, this is one of them too. You can always open and close Notepad here. If you don't want it, you can also unpin it from the taskbar. And when we're inside Notepad, aside from that pin to taskbar option, this is the Notepad program itself. If you click New, it will open a new Notepad page for you. The Ctrl+Shift function does this, and these here are our recent documents. For now, the documents we already have, some of these might be important to you. For example, this file from last year might be important to you, so what do? You pin it right here. Even if someone comes and clears this list, this will always stay here. But if you don't want it anymore, you can unpin it from here. And finally, dear friends, I ask you that if you found the videos useful, please like the videos to support us and help the channel grow. Subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next sessions. Goodbye.